Today I'm ranking every Megadeth album from Killing Is My Business to Self-Titled. Of course, this is my opinion, so feel free to hate me in the comments or agree with me. And of course, if you want, I would love to read your whole ranking. So let's start. Well, first of all, we have Killing Is My Business. In this album, we have Last Rites, Killing Is My Business, The Skull Beneath the Skin, Rattlehead, Chosen Ones, Looking Out Across, Mechanics, These Boots. In my opinion, it's a pretty solid album. We have one of the best intros ever, a bunch of the best Megadeth riffs ever written, their first banger. Apart from that, in my opinion, this one is a very important album because on this album depended if Megadeth was Megadeth or just the band from the guy that was kicked out, Metallica. So yeah, definitely a great album, but not in the top 5 in my opinion, just because Megadeth had some crazy masterpieces there. But I'll put it up here in the great category. Well, now it's time for the first of the masterpieces that Megadeth dropped, Peace Cells. We have Wake Up Dead, The Conjuring, Peace Cells, Devil's Island, Good Morning, Bad Omen, I Am Superstitious, and My Last Words. We all agree that this is a masterpiece, one of the best thrash metal albums in history. We have 2 of the best Devastating solos ever. Their first massive song, Peace Cells. Also, the lineup of the band was one of the best lineups that Megadeth ever had. For many Megadeth fans out there, the best lineup. And as I said, with Killing Is My Business, this album was very important too, because Megadeth showed the world that they weren't just another thrash metal band, that they were here for huge things. So I think that we all agree that this album is definitely top 5. This is the first one that I think that will disagree with some of you. This album is very loved by the Megadeth fans, but not my favorite. So far, so good, so what? We have Into the Lungs of Hell, Set the World Afire, Anarchy in the UK, Mary Jane, 502, In My Darkest Hour, Liar, and Hook in Mouth. In my opinion, this one is a step back from Peace Cells. It's not this album's fault, it's Peace Cells' fault because it was just too good. But still a step back. Also, the lineup change was a step back in my opinion. But of course, this is still a great album. My Darkest Hour is one of my favorite songs of all time. Not just Megadeth songs, but metal songs of all time. It's not a bad album, It's not as good as other Megadeth albums. I'm not a huge fan of it. So I think that maybe could be like the top 10. The last one of this category. Yeah, I'll put it here for now. Now it's time for not just the best Megadeth album, but the best metal album in history. Rest in Peace. We have Holy Wars, Hangar 18, Take No Prisoners, 5 Magics, Poison Was a Cure, Lucretia, Tornado of Souls, Down Patrol, and Rest in Peace, Polaris. There's not much to say about this album. We have Prime Megadeth, probably one of the best lineups in metal history, one of the best rhythm guitar players in history, combined with one of the best lead guitar players in history. Nothing could go any other way. In my opinion, this is just top 1, hands down. Now it's time for one of the most iconic Megadeth albums ever, Countdown to Extinction. We have Skin on My Teeth, Symphony of Destruction, Architecture of Aggression, Foreclosure of a Dream, Sweating Bullets, This Was My Life, Countdown to Extinction, High Speed Dirt, Psychotron, and Captive Honor. Definitely a solid album, still prime Megadeth. I feel like Rust in Peace was the knockdown and this was the knockout. We have Symphony of Destruction, the biggest hit in Megadeth history. Some other iconic songs like Sweating Bullets or Skin on My Teeth. It's definitely one of my favorite albums of all time. Rust in Peace, in my opinion, is still top 1. I'll put this one on top 2. It's very difficult for me to choose between this one and Peace Cells. I think that could go both ways. But personally, I would say that I like more Countdown to Extinction. Definitely, this was the golden age for Megadeth. We have another masterpiece, Youthanasia. Here we have Reckoning Day, Train of Consequences, Addicted to Chaos, Hatulimond, Elysian Fields, Killing Road, Blood of Heroes, Family Tree, Youthanasia, I Thought I Knew It All, Black Curtains, and Victory. This is a great album, one of my favorites of all time too. A great work on the leads, in my opinion. Prime vocals for Dave. Maybe he's the first one with a more commercial sound in some way, but I love it. This is a fucking masterpiece. So I'll put it next to Peace Cells for sure. Well, every golden age has an end, and this one was the beginning of the end. Cryptic Writings. We have Trust, Almost Honest, Use the Man, Mastermind, The Disintegrators, I'll Get Even, Scene, A Secret Place, Have Cool, Trouble, She-Wolf, Vortex, FFF. Well, it is true that we have two bangers, two of my favorite Megadeth songs of all time, but still I wouldn't consider it as a solid album. There are a bunch of underrated songs here for sure, but it's not even close to the rest of good Megadeth albums. So it's the first on the good category. I said that one of the best rhythm guitar players mixed with one of the best lead guitar players couldn't go wrong. Well, it went wrong. Risk. Here we have Insomnia, Prince of Darkness, Enter the Arena, Crush 'Em, Breadline, The Doctor's Calling, I'll Be There, Wanderlust, Ecstasy, 7, Time the Beginning, and Time the End. Well, what can I say? I think that is the very first misstep from Megadeth. I won't lie, I do like a couple of songs of this album, but to be honest, it doesn't sound like Megadeth anymore. I'm afraid there's almost no lead work in terms of solos compared to Megadeth albums. There's almost no rhythm work in terms of riffs compared to Megadeth albums. It just doesn't feel like Megadeth at all. I agree that this one is one of the worst Megadeth albums, but still I think that I'll save the last category for two other albums that I have in mind. And considering also that this one was the last album with Marty Friedman, Megadeth, I'll put it as the last one of the good category. We already have Risk, so nothing could get any worse, right? The world needs a hero. We have Disconnect, The World Needs a Hero, Motorcycle, 1,000 Times Goodbye, Burning Bridges, Promises, Receipt for Hate, Warhorse, Losing My Senses, Drain and Defeated Mind, Silent Scorn, Return to Hunger, and When. It is true that we have two great songs here, Drain and Defeated Mind and Promises. One of my favorite Megadeth solos ever, Drain and Defeated Mind, but apart from those, there's not much I can defend, to be honest. I know it must be hard to change the best lineup in history of your band. Replacing Marty Friedman is something that it's impossible. It's impossible to replace Marty Friedman from any band. The band was going through a very difficult period, and I feel like that's reflected on the album. This one is worse than Risk. This will be the first one in the last category, the last two. Well, this one is a controversial album. The system has failed. We have Black Mirror Universe, Died It Enough, Kick the Chairs, Scorpion, Tears in Vial, I Know Jack, Back in the Day, Something That I'm Not, Truth Be Told, Of Mice and Men, Shadow of Death, My Kingdom. Well, despite what many people think, in my opinion, this is a very important album for Megadeth, because we have to have in mind that Megadeth broke up. This was going to be the first Dave Mustaine solo album. Megadeth wasn't going to exist anymore. Dave Mustaine thought that he wouldn't play anymore. So having that in mind, that Megadeth was supposed to end, and instead we have the comeback of one of the most iconic guitar players in Megadeth history, Chris Poland. Also, Dave's vocals on this album sounds amazing. I think that Prime Dave was between this one and Youthanasia. And of course, that I think that the idea of having Dave Mustaine and Chris Poland back again, is something that definitely helps. Still, I wouldn't put it in a top 10, to be honest, but I'll put it as the first one of the good category. The comeback of thrash for Megadeth, United Abominations. We got Sleepwalker, Washington is Next, Never Walk Alone, Call to Arms, United Abominations, Gears of War, Blessed Be the Dead, Play for Blood, A Two Lemon Set Me Free, America Stan, You Are Dead, and Burnt Ice. Definitely a good album. We have some great songs like Sleepwalker, Washington is Next, Never Walk Alone. Washington is Next is one of my favorite Megadeth songs. The lead work is amazing, the rhythm work is amazing, but I feel like in some way they weren't like a solid band yet. Dave was trying to build something again. Well, it's hard to rank this album because definitely it's not a top 10, but I think that maybe I'll put it just after the system has failed. Endgame. We have Dialectic Chaos, This Day We Fight, 44 minutes, 30-20, By the Hand, Bodies, Endgame, The Hardest Part of Letting Go, Hedge Crusher, How the Story Ends, On the Right to Go Insane. Well, definitely it's a great album, I'm a huge fan of Chris Broderick too. His work on Megadeth It's amazing. Songs like Dialectic Chaos, Heart Crusher, How the Story Ends, that soul in How the Story Ends is just insane. One of my favorite guitar solos ever. I think that this one is the very first album for that modern Megadeth era. It's a solid album. I'll put it in definitely in a top 10. Um, but it's hard to choose if put it before or after So Far So Good So What. I feel like maybe Endgame is a modern version of So Far So Good So What. Yeah, maybe just after So Far So Good So What, just because of In My Darkest Hour. I know this one will be one of the most controversial choices on my video, so let's go. 13. We got Sudden Death, Public Enemy number 1, Whose Life Is It Anyway, We the People, Guns, Drugs and Money, Never Dead, New World Order, Fast Lane, Black Swan, Wrecker, Millennium of the Blind, Deadly Nightshade, and 13. I know that most of Megadeth fans hate this album, but I fucking love it. I grew up listening to this album, and in my opinion, it's a very consistent album. For me, it's one of those albums that I love listening front to back, no skipping any song. You can call me crazy, but the only reason why I won't put this album in a top 5 is because Megadeth dropped 5 of the best thrash metal albums in history. But I'll put this one as the first one of the great category. You are free to hate in comments. It's time for Super Collider. We got Kingmaker, Super Collider, Burn, Built for War, Off the Edge, Dance in the Rain, Beginning of Sorrow, The Blackest Crow, Forget to Remember, Don't Turn Your Back, and Cold Sweet. Well, when the most streamed song in an album, it's a cover, I think that that's telling us something. My problem with this album is that it's not even a bad album. I feel like it's an empty album. For me, there's nothing worse than doing something that is empty. Risk can be bad, but at least it's telling me something. They were trying to do something different. I think that most of us would agree that this one is the worst Megadeth album. Maybe after Super Collider, a bunch of people thought that Megadeth was done, but with Dave Mustaine, you never know. Dystopia. We got The Threat is Real, Dystopia, Fatal Illusion, Death for Within, Bullet to the Brain, Post American World, Poisonous Shadows, Conquer or Die, Lion State, The Emperor, Foreign Policy, Melt the Ice Away. Well, maybe most of the Megadeth fans thought that nothing could be ever compared with the Golden Age with Marty Friedman, David Ellefson, Nick Menza. I think that we can all agree that this lineup from Dystopia can definitely be compared with that one. I think that is a very consistent album. Is one of those albums that I love listening from to back, no skipping songs. Maybe the only two that I could skip are the last two that, if I'm not wrong, are both covers. So it's not that bad. Apart from that, this album is very special for me because it was the album with the one I started listening to Megadeth back in 2016. I was like 12 years old. The very first time I got to see Megadeth live was the tour of Dystopia. So yeah, definitely it's a very special album for me. Also, we have the first Grammy for Megadeth, so it's definitely a huge album in Megadeth's career. I'll put this one as the number 4. Definitely this album is a top 5. It's very close to Youthanasia, to be honest, but as I said, I have special feelings for this one, so I'll put it as a top 4 just before Youthanasia. Time for the second to the last, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. We got The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, Life in Hell, Night Stalkers, Dogs of Chernobyl, Sacrifice, Junkie, Psychopathy, Killing Time, Soleron, Celebuton, Vision to Mars, Will Be Back, Police Track, and This Planet's on Fire. Well, I actually like this album. I think that it's a pretty consistent album. The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead is one of my favorite Megadeth songs. Kiko's work here is amazing too. It's a shame that Dave decided to kick David Ellefson out, but still a great album. I wouldn't say that maybe it's an album that I listen from to back without skipping any song, but most of the songs are songs that I love listening to. I know that a bunch of you will probably disagree with what I'm about to do, but I'll put it just before So Far So Good So What. Time to rank the last one, the self-titled. Tipping Point, I Don't Care, Hey God, Let There Be Shred, Pauper Parade, Another Bad Day, Made to Kill, Obey the Call, I Am War, The Last Note, and Ride the Lightning. Well, it's difficult for me to rank this album because it's not just an album, it's the very last Megadeth album. It's the very last time that we got to listen to new Megadeth songs. So of course that I have special feelings with this one. Apart from that, it's been just a few months since it dropped, so So the songs still feels like new songs for me. I know that it's not their best work, of course, but still a good album, and still an album that I can listen from to back, without skipping songs. Maybe in a couple of years my opinion can change, but for now I'll put it as the first one of the good category. Well, that was my ranking of the Megadeth albums. Let me know in comments what you think. If you make it this far, thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on my Instagram. So thank you so much for watching. See you next week.